Hey, all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, since we've run the Lexington, we have now finished with the Derby preps, and now we're on to that torturous 3 week period where we have to wait for the first Saturday in May. I don't know about you, but it's the toughest part of the Derby trail is just that long wait in between. But there's plenty of analysis we can do. We're going to start with our top 20 list. We're going to cut it down to give an impression of what the field will likely look like, barring any defections. So let's take a look at them five at a time. We start with number 20, Wild on Ice. As we've alluded to, he's the Sunland Derby winner. Really doesn't belong in this field, but he did get the requisite points to qualify. He will be an immediate toss, but he's going to be in the field, so he's on the list. Number 19 is Continuar. He is a Japanese import in the Derby by invitation. I believe he finished third in the UAE Derby. He seems to have a lot of stamina, able to run all day. And given what the Japanese have been doing this year internationally, as well as what Mandarin Hero did in the Santa Anita Derby, we probably want to take a good long look at this one before we toss. Number 18 is Ray's Kane. The two-turn effort in the Bluegrass Stakes was not anything to write home about. So it seems his best efforts have been around one turn. I still think this one has a little bit of upside, but depending on what the final field looks like, he'll probably be a toss. But he's right on the border with me. Number 17 is Confidence Game. We thought he was going to run in the Lexington, and apparently Keith Sormo decided to just continue to train him through to the Derby, sending a lot of mixed signals. And like I've said before, the Rebel Stakes, I think, is the best that one can possibly run. And he looked really all out to do so. So I don't think that he'll be a factor in the Derby, and he'll likely be a toss for me. But he's in the field up as of now. Number 16 is Sun Thunder. I think we know what he is now. He seems to have plateaued. He's basically going to hang back and try to make a run at it late. And he just seems to be flattening out or plateauing as he's closing. So, I mean, he could get up for third or fourth, as there are so many horses in this field that can. But as far as being a win candidate, I think that's highly unlikely. Number 15 is Lord Miles. The nice win in the Wood Memorial showed a marked improvement of what we had been expecting to see in the past. Apparently, he's been under the radar, and he's just been making incremental improvement. This was sort of the culmination of it. He is by Curlin, and he's got really nice pedigree, and anything's possible this year. So this is one we want to keep a good eye on as he's training up to the Derby, and we might get him at a price underneath, or who knows, he might even be a possible win candidate. Number 14 is Blazing Sevens. He did okay in the Bluegrass, getting up for third, but I still don't know really what this one has to offer. I don't even know if this one's going to run in the Derby or not. It seems a little short. Training wise, we'll see what Chad Brown does. But this one, again, I think he's a little bit of a cut below some of the others based upon what I've seen. I think he can get up for third or fourth again, like a lot of them. But we'll just have to see how he trains and what actually happens. I'm getting the feeling that they're gonna scratch this one. But if he does factor in the field, then he'll likely be an underlay, which is a bit of a disappointment. But I think he's one that probably we have to use. Number 13 is Rocket Ken. I think he's plateaued. The Arkansas Derby was kind of the indication of that after the Florida Derby. He just looked like his form was starting to regress, and I think Bill Mott's taking this one as far as he can go. I would not be using him in the Derby whatsoever, I don't think. I just don't think he's good enough, and I think he's run his best races. Number 12 is Disarm. The Lexington was a decent effort. He didn't need to win. I mean, we can say that. But leading up to the Derby, I would have liked to seen a progression in form, and I don't know that we really got that. He did make a pretty good move at the top of the turn to get into third, but then that seemed to be it as far as what he could offer. So, obviously I'd rather see First Mission in the Derby, to be honest. But Disarm, I kind of like. Still think he has some upside. I just well, it's all going to be all about the training with this one, but not after the Lexington. I'm not quite as high on him as I was before. Number 11 is Reincarnate. Well, we know what he is pretty much. We thought he was going to be running on the front end in all these races, and instead they've been rating him or taking him way back. So, really, he is versatile. He can do both, and I know he has the stamina for sure. As far as being a win candidate, I think he's a cut below. He just hasn't proven that he's got that. He's got the ability to take any of these Derby preps down, and I likely think that'll be the case with the Kentucky Derby. I'd rather see this one in the Belmont, as I've said before, because of the stamina, and I think if he gets on the front end, he might be hard to rein in. But as far as the Derby goes, I think he's a middling player at best. Now we're at our top 10. Number 10 is Hit Show. The Wood Memorial, he ran a pretty good race. I would have liked to have seen him take it down and dust that field. Really to see the progression. I think we wanted to see a really solid win, and we didn't really get it. He didn't run a bad race, and I think he's just proven to be, as we sort of expected, he's a cut below. I don't think he's a bad horse. I think he could basically get up and under in the exotics in the Derby, but a win candidate, I don't think so. Number 9 is Mage. If he can learn to break out of the gate better, we can up him on the list. He certainly has some talent. He demonstrated that in the Fountain of Youth as well as the Florida Derby, but until they work out those gate issues, he's basically going to be a fringe player. If he can take another move forward, I consider him to be a win candidate. We'll see how his training goes, and mainly we want to see how much they school him in the gate or workouts with the gate. That would be the big thing to see that they're trying to correct the problem. But yeah, this is a very interesting horse. Number 8 is King's Barnes. Really still don't know what to make of this one. I think he's definitely got talent. We know he has the stamina. But that Louisiana Derby, the pace was so god-awful slow. Of course he was going to kick to the finish line well because he didn't run for the first 6 furlongs of the race. So it's hard to know what we have with this one, but I think he's certainly a contender. He looks to be, and the fact that he did win the Louisiana Derby, although we don't really know what kind of field that was. It's not turning out to be so great. I think he's one that you have to consider, but I'm just not sure he has the potential to win the race. Number 7 is Two Phils. What more can you ask? He's gotten better with every start. He's proven competitive in every single field he's been in. The Jeff Ruby Stakes was a really solid effort, albeit on synthetic, but it does show that this one's continuing to improve. Not sure that the 1.25 miles is what this one wants, but you've got to love the fact that he's always in the mix and he always brings his game. So this is one you certainly have to consider as a contender. Whether or not he can win it or not is up to debate. Number 6 is Verifying. Ran a really nice bluegrass, just barely losing to Tappa Trice, and I don't think that's that's a knock on him. I think he ran about as good a race as he can run. I'm wondering if his top end is enough to win the Derby. He looked maxed out in the stretch there, whereas I think Tappa Trice has a little more to offer. So I wonder about that, and possibly the distance might be an issue. So I like Verifying as a horse. I think he's definitely competitive in this field, but got a couple of questions. Maybe the training will shake that out. So our top 5 are number 5, Practical Move. That Santa Anita Derby showed a lot of grit. There's a couple of things. We have belabored the distance question because he's by Practical Move. I think that's abated a little bit by his performance at 1.125 miles. But the one thing that is a bit of a puzzle to me, not a puzzle, but just a question mark, he seems to really love to save ground on the rail. And it seems that that's the way he likes to run. Now, is he going to get that trip in the Derby? Probably not without a lot of traffic issues. So that's one thing to think about. The second thing is, are they saving ground deliberately because they wonder about whether or not he has the stamina? Those are very minor points, and it may be towards the absurd. I admit it's a little bit of a conspiracy theory type of posture, but practical move just since the California horses have not shipped well this year, they seem to be a subpar group. I'm not. I'm kind of thinking that maybe this one isn't quite as good as we think. But he's on the list and he's a contender for sure. If he continues to train well, then I will perhaps alter my opinion of him. But right now, I'm kind of thinking he's on the outside looking in. Number 4 is Tapit Trice. Validated everything with the bluegrass. He checked every box. He broke better. He worked his way through traffic. He handled kickback, and he closed well to win the race. And he was engaged earlier in the race. Now, does he still have issues? Yes. In that stretch, if you watch that race again, you'll see even though he was dueling with verifying, he got distracted and he was looking into the stands. And Saez had to work his tail off to keep him engaged and focused in the race. So that is a problem. And is any type of training going to rectify that? I don't know. Maybe they're going to go to blinkers. I don't know what they do, but it's an impediment. I mean, he definitely has the talent to win. There's no question about it. I worry about his tactical speed. I don't know that he has a whole lot. He seems to be a straight ahead runner, so they always need to get him on the outside. Well, if in the Derby, if that happens, he's going to have to run like 1.75 miles in order to win the race. Just something to think about when you consider Tapit Trice. There's a world of ability here. There's no doubt about it, and he is certainly a win candidate. But he's got a little bit of hair on him that hopefully that will work itself out in training up to the Derby. Number 3 is Derma Sotogake. As we mentioned before, this is more of what Mandarin Hero did in the Santa Anita Derby as a member of the JV Japanese squad. And he gave Practical Move all he could handle and damn near won the race. So the fact that Derma Sotogake handled him pretty easily, do we have to upgrade him? Plus, that U80 Derby was a pretty powerful race. And this one's running style, being up and on the engine on the early lead, is a real plus in this field that doesn't have a lot of early speed. And we really, this is the year that the Japanese just might do it. There's a lot of possibility. Number 2 is Angel of Empire. I've liked this horse all the way through. He just keeps doing everything right. He keeps getting better. He's followed the Derby progression. He's improved with every start. And in particular, I like his tactical speed, and I like the fact that he has push button acceleration. I think that's really important. He can get to where he wants to right quick, and he has plenty of clothes, and the stamina is not a problem. So I really like this horse. I think he needs to take another move forward in the Derby, but I don't see any reason why he won't. And provided he continues to train well, he's a definite use for me, and I think he's a really solid win candidate. Number 1 is Forte. It seems like the closer we get to the Derby, the more people are trying to poke holes in Forte's game. Well, the Florida Derby, yes, it looked like he was beat, but he still won, didn't he? I think he showed a lot of class there. People are wondering about, he's lingering further back as the distances get longer. Maybe he's not as fast. He hasn't had to be. Well, you got to remember that when he needed it, he pushed a button and got right by Mage to win the Florida Derby. And Mage is a pretty good horse. So I think he's still the class of the field. And provided that he trains well, you have to consider him to be the prime favorite to win the Derby. I think it's just natural in this year where we've had all kinds of anomalies and weird things happen and disappointments that we try to poke holes in everybody. And this one has the least wrong with them. You can definitely say that. So I think we want to keep that in mind when we evaluate Forte compared to the rest of the field. And that's really the ultimate objective, is comparing him to who he's running against. So that's our top 20. We've had a couple of revisions from the previous list due to horses now like Skinner. He's out of the Derby because he doesn't have enough points. So we're just trying to keep the list reflective of what we're probably going to have. There's likely going to be a couple of defections along the way, and we'll adjust it accordingly. Blazing Sevens, I'm not sure. Is going to run. I think he's short training wise, and I think Chad Brown, being the good trainer that he is, I'm not sure that he would run him unless he thought he could be competitive. The top 10 really hasn't changed a whole lot. I think we still know who the prime players are for sure. We're just not quite so sure about the second tier, and most of them are going to be tosses anyway. So it's a pretty firm list right now, I think, and barring any real wild defections from some of the major players, I think we basically know who we're dealing with. So now we can start evaluating them as they match up against each other for the Derby. We will have more postings later this week. We're going to recap the Lexington, and we'll also have a part of our Keeneland card series. We will continue to do that throughout the meet. So we'll have the card for Wednesday, and we'll go all the way through till Sunday, and then the week following. We'll also have some Derby postings that will be the elements of handicapping the Derby, and I think you're going to like that. We'll take it one element at a time, and we'll evaluate each horse that's going to be in the field. And I think that will give you a really firm picture of who we're looking at for the first Saturday in May, and what our field of contenders is going to look like, and who we should be focusing on. If you like what you see here, please like and subscribe as always. And we do thank you very much for your viewership. Really appreciate it, particularly the comments. As always, I love to hear from you guys, and please keep those coming. So I'll be talking to you real soon. And until then, be well.